Hey, what's going on, team? It's Ricky with TechBot Solutions. Hope that you guys are all having an amazing Monday. And as I said amazing Monday, I was catching myself because it's been, well, don't want to say anything but amazing, but it's been eventful to say the least. And in this video, we've been getting a lot of people asking the question of why is the market selling off? Why, if they announce certain news that they came out with a vaccine that's 90% effective or successful, why are we seeing some stocks not just drop, but aggressively sell off? And I want to talk about a series of those different companies. You guys know that we're all about, talking about companies that have sold off very aggressively, that were previously very consistent and can be viewed as somewhat of a good deal. But I also want to talk about the idea of why they are dropping. And the first one that I actually want to start off with is one that we were actually following up with last week. So it's recovered from its overall lows of $94, but this was trading at $125, over $130 just on Friday alone. And today it's already down 16%. There's another very common stock, ZM, down 14%. We've seen huge companies experience huge drops today. And although some might be influenced by others, to keep it very simple, these companies, PTON, which is Peloton, companies like Zoom, did extremely well during this pandemic. Why? Well, Zoom is an online service where you can host video calls, and it allows a series of different businesses and services to be able to host their meetings virtually, which is again of huge value and became of huge demand as we wanted to avoid face-to-face conversations. Now with the idea of this vaccine being released and in the works of, again, being 90% effective, this is great news for COVID, but because the demand was so high for these specific services, Zoom, Peloton, and a bunch of other different companies, during the midst of a pandemic, as they come out with a vaccine, it makes sense that as we try to transition back to the traditional way of doing things, face-to-face conversation, and for Peloton, they have an at-home workout exercise machines. Now you can see why the demand can be viewed to be a little bit less than it was before, because we're trying to make this transition back to how things were before. So now that we talked about why a lot of these specific companies are experiencing huge pullbacks today, I also want to talk about why and how some are a little bit more on the oversold side. I want to show you the big picture charts. This is ticker symbol ZM, and it just completed 180-day highs at $588 just a couple of weeks ago. Now, one of the things that I do want to point out is that it has been making lower lows and lower highs as well. And the same thing with Peloton. As of right now, we made 180-day highs just a couple of days ago. We aggressively sold off due to earnings. And now this news comes out of, again, this vaccine, which is overall great news for a majority of people, but just unfortunate for certain services or businesses that were thriving during the midst of a pandemic. I just wanted to explain to you guys why some of these companies were experiencing a sell-off, as I think people were having a difficult time getting a proper answer on Google and through other YouTube videos as well. With that being said, being able to see companies like Tesla, companies that are focused on alternative energy. There's a lot of companies that are doing extremely well. I mean, Tesla is just an example today. Although the market aggressively sold off, Tesla is still holding its ground. But companies that are doing extremely well today are companies like American Airlines, up 16% on the day, and that's after it already pulled back. It was up over 20%. All these different airlines going up. Why? Well, again, the news that was released of this vaccine that acts as a positive catalyst for companies that were struggling during the midst of this pandemic. So the reason that I wanted to make this video is to talk about the catalyst that's having an influence on the overall market, and depending on where you have your attention focused on. If it was a company that was previously unfortunately devastated due to the midst of the pandemic, then again, this news of this vaccine is most likely acting as a positive catalyst in comparison to a series of other companies that experienced huge drops. Wayfair is one of them with a 17% drop on the day. Another one is FedEx, pulled back to the SMA line, but it looks like it's finding a support level. And the thing I really like about FedEx is that it was a very consistent uptrend pattern. It aggressively pulled back. It's testing support levels. Again, again, we're still not seeing indication of a reversal just yet, but one that I quickly wanted to talk about. The same thing with Bed Bath & Beyond, testing SMA line. We experienced again another pullback on ZM, and the last one that I wanted to talk about today is of course BABA consolidating right around the SMA line. Right now there is so much uncertainty, there is so much news that's being shared that just continues to shift the overall market. But one thing that I do know that's going on right now is if you guys shift your attention on over to /NQ. Although all this crazy news was being released that it was in favor of the overall market, as again, things are not final if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to like step on anyone's toes, but I'm pretty sure, right, with how the electoral votes look as of right now, Biden has a lead without a doubt. And that acted as a positive catalyst for the overall market. Why? Well, based off of articles that I've read, again, this is just based off of what I read. It's not that I agree with it, but it's because Biden is a Democratic candidate, it is assumed that he will be more likely to, again, come out with a second stimulus check quicker than the Trump administration, which is, again, Republican. So with that being said, every time that we were waiting for the stimulus check or they prolonged it, that acted as a negative catalyst. But now that, again, the idea is that we will most likely come out with one sooner than anticipated with a Democratic president, that acted as a positive notion for the overall market. This quickly began to change again as all this different news started coming about for this other vaccine. And of course, tech, a sector that was thriving during the midst of the pandemic, saw an unfortunate pullback today as they come out with a vaccine. So what I'm trying to share within this video is how important it is to know what to pay attention to depending on the news that is being shared. So I just wanted to make sure that I did my part in keeping you guys up to date with a series of different companies that were thriving and of course, unfortunately pulling back today, just so we can talk about what to pay attention to while we're bullish and of course, what to watch while they pulled back. I set my alerts on a couple of these different stocks. If you feel like I missed the stock that aggressively sold off today, that you find it to be a good deal, all I encourage you to do is to comment that ticker down below, and I would be more than happy to break that one down on our next video. I really do appreciate you guys' time. I really hope that I earned your thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you guys want to watch me trade live as soon as tomorrow at market open, refresh your screen, click the second link down below, and learn a little bit more about our Learn Plan Profit Group and see if joining our team and being able to watch me trade live every single day is something that is of value for you. Until then, we'll see you guys on the next one. Take it easy, team.